Hi, and welcome to Onstage at A.C.T. Today we continue our conversation with the cast and crew of the upcoming production, Oleanna. This is a very special interview. Please welcome to our hot seat, Stuart Moore. Hi, how's it going? Stuart, it's great for our audience to finally get a chance to meet you. What's it like to be on the other side of the camera? It's a little surreal. I mean, I talk to myself all the time, but this is just weird. I know, right? I know, right? So, our audience knows you from your incredible work with these interviews. Well, thank you. Why don't you give us a little bit of your background and where you come from? Well, I'm from a very small town in Ohio called Paulding, population 3,500. From there, I went to Ohio State and majored in musical theater. From that point on, I started doing live theater and toured for a year with the Columbus Children's Theater, eventually working my way into the community theater market and put my skills to use as a choreographer. Well, eventually real life caught up with me and I needed to pay bills and real life got there, so I retired. And through a series of course of events, when my life exploded, I ended up in Florida and relocated here. I got married and settled down into nice theatrical retirement life. About 3 years ago, I auditioned for and was cast in Twilight of the Golds, and that's where I met Ed Wilhelms, who introduced me here to A.C.T. And I did 3 shows with him last season, and now I'm doing this show. What can you tell us about your character John and how he fits into the show Oleanna? Basically, John is a junior professor at a university. He's on a tenure course, and he has a unscheduled meeting with one of his students, Carol, who is having trouble with her class and wants to know how she can improve her grade. Well, John is kind of the dumbest smart person I've ever met. He doesn't understand the things that he's saying, doing, and there's consequences to his actions, and that they're inappropriate for mixed sex couples, and especially between a student and a professor. It's one of the things that I find is most interesting about him, because he really has the best of intentions, but he doesn't really understand that there's consequences for everything that he does. So through that series of meetings that they have, we see John's life unravel as a consequence for his actions. Now, what has been the most challenging part of this show? I mean, is there something that sticks out more than other aspects? Wow. The most challenging part of Oleanna is definitely the language. Anybody who's ever done David Mamet, it is so specific to his shows. It's actually got its own term called Mamet speak. David Mamet, for lack of a better term, is a modern day Shakespeare. When you hear a Mamet show, you know exactly what it is. Same thing we do with other authors such as Shakespeare. It's immediately identifiable, and it is all about the language. His language is deep, it's meaningful, it's robust. But unfortunately, since he writes like real people talk in fragments, people talk in mixed thoughts. They go from one thing to another, they get interrupted. When you see that on the page, it's a lot of need to say ... and all of these things are going on, and you look at it like it's learning Chinese. And in a way it is, because you're learning to say the things how people say them, but when you write it out, it looks so weird. There's a lot of overlapping, so it becomes a challenge to get them in your mouth and in your mind. And this is my second Mamet show, so I think I've got a little bit of a handle on it. Now, you said this is your 4th show here at A.C.T. So what keeps you coming back? Why do you keep coming to A.C.T.? First of all, I love the people I work with. I love this space. Everybody here is here and they want to give the best performance possible. It's the intimacy that you get for the audience is the closest thing you'll ever get to being on film and TV, because you can be quiet, you can be small, you can whisper, and you can get people drawn into these characters and leave them breathless. You can leave them wanting more, because what you give them is so personal that you almost feel like you're intruding. It's a wonderful experience, and I couldn't think of a better space to work in for A.C.T. It's what keeps me here. What's next for you? I mean, do you have any other projects? What's coming up on the horizon for you? Well, as you know, I have my duties here as A.C.T's Director of Publicity. Oh, right. So you got your interviews, the trailers, the promos, all that work. But as soon as this show closes, I've got going to rehearsal for the next baseball comedy. It's called Rounding Third. There's a possibility I might be doing a show in September. We're working on the dates on that, see if it's a possibility. But I've also been cast in an independent horror film that should be shooting anytime soon. It's called Blood Forest, and that'll be shooting in Puerto Rico. I heard about that project. You're playing the villain. That's exciting. I like that. That's something you've never done before. And then after that, I've got a bit of a break, and then I'll be directing my first show here next April. Wow, you certainly like to keep yourself busy, don't you? Well, you should know, moron. Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we go? Oleanna is one of those shows that will stick with you. I mean, it's going to cause some great conversations in the car on the way home. You cannot miss it because everything will just be in the back of your head for days, and it is something you need to experience, and you need to experience it live. I think that covers it. I think you kind of covered it all. That was awesome, and I want to thank you for being here. Oh, yeah, you got what you need. Hack. Actors. You can see Stuart and the entire cast of Oleanna when it opens here exclusively at A.C.T. Studio Theater on May 20th and runs through June 4th. Stuart, it's been an experience. Yeah, whatever. That's great. That's awesome.